Okay, now that we've set up everything on the API side of things for attendees, now we're going to do the same thing on the client side in our user interface. And what we'll do to start with is we'll display our attendees inside each activity list item. So let's take a look at what we need to do for this. And inside our client app, inside the source, inside the features, activities, dashboard, and inside this folder, we'll create a new component for our activity attendees. So we'll say activity list item attendee.tsx as the name of the component. And let's just add what we need inside here. So we're going to import React from React as per normal. And we'll say export default function. And we'll say activity list item attendee. And even though we're not going to directly access anything from the store here, we are going to want our activity list items to observe the store itself, because we're going to receive the properties from a parent component, which is going to receive, if we go back up the chain, the attendees via the store. Then we're going to need to observe this as well. So we'll just add the observer in here as well, just so that we have this in place, even though we won't see the effects for some time. And what we're going to return from this is we're going to return a list, and we're going to make it a horizontal list. And what we'll have inside here is list.items, and each list item is going to have an image that we get from Semantic UI. And we'll say the size is equal to mini, and we'll make it circular, and we'll say the source, for the time being, is going to say /assets/user.png. And just so we see how it looks like, we'll just copy this down a few more times so that we have 3 example attendees. Now, for the time being, we're simply going to show the image. We'll do something a little bit extra a bit later on. And we'll go ahead and add this to our activity list item. So let's open this up. And inside here, we've got our placeholder text for attendees go here. And we're going to add the activity list item attendee inside there. And if we go and take a look at our browser, we can see the 3 images for each list item where we're showing the attendees. So what we're actually going to display here, though, is we're going to get this information from the user's profile. And each activity is going to return a list of attendees with the activity, and it's going to be based on their profile. So what we'll do is we'll go to Solution Explorer, and we'll go inside the models folder, and we're going to create a new file called profile.ts. And this is going to contain the interface for our user profiles. So we'll say export interface, and we'll call it profile. And we're going to have a username, which is going to be a type of string. We'll have the display name, again a string. We'll have the image, which is going to be optional and a type of string. And we'll also have a bio, again optional, which is going to be a string as well. And what we'll do is we'll go to our activity, and we'll add some additional properties inside here based on what we're returning from our API now. So we'll need the host username as a property, which will be a string. We'll need the is cancelled, and that's a Boolean. And we'll need our attendees, which is going to be a profile array. Now we're going to run into problems at the moment if we make these mandatory. So for the time being, we're just going to make these optional, and we will come back to this interface a bit later on so that we can do something a bit different, especially when it comes to creating an activity, because we're not going to have this information just from our form. So we'll need to do something a bit different later on, but for the time being, this is going to allow us to continue the user interface that we're building. So what we'll do, we'll head back over to our activity list item attendee, and we'll add an interface for this, and we'll say props, and we're going to have a list of attendees, and that's going to be a type of profile array. And we'll pass this into our props, and we'll say attendees, and pass in props as the type. And then inside the list, we'll say attendees.map, and we'll say attendee. And what we'll do is we'll just cut one of these list items and put it inside the map function. And we can remove the other two. And let's reformat. And because we're looping over this list, we need a key. So we'll say the key equals attendee.username. And what we'll do for the time being, I know we don't have any images at the moment. There's not much we can do about that right now. But we'll add the code for this anyway. And we'll say the image source is going to be the attendee.image. And we'll add an OR condition so it displays the placeholder image if we don't have anything for this. What we'll also do is we'll make each of these a link to eventually take the user to their profile page. So what we'll do, we'll say as equals link, and we'll say to equals, and then we'll say backtick /profiles, and then $, and we'll say attendee.username. So obviously our links are not going to do anything for us at the moment, but we're just adding this code in as we will need to use it later on. So then we can go back to our activity list item, and we need to pass the attendees to this component, and we'll say attendees is equal to activity.attendees. And because we made this optional, then for the time being, what we'll do is we'll just add the bang operator just to tell VS Code we know what we're doing right at this time. We will make this mandatory a bit later, so this is just a temporary workaround so that we can see what we're doing is working as we go along. And let's take a look at our browser and try and refresh the page. And what we should see for each of our activities, if we hover over, we should see their profiles link in the bottom left-hand corner. And if we look at one with two different attendees, then we can see that this is displaying the correct information as we've coded it right now. And that's what we're looking for. So what we'll do next is we'll take a look at the detailed view and update this in the next lesson.